It's so easy these days to fake a website and steal the password from someone. Companies are the main targets of hackers. So I stopped using Gmail. I use Signal instead of WhatsApp.
Welcome to the Tech Visionary Show, where we talk about some of today's brightest minds and influencers in the area of technology. Technology is ever expanding, and with it comes many challenges. One of the biggest is protecting and maintaining our personal and professional digital identity. Today, we have a leading expert in that area to be our guest on the show. Frédéric Rivain is a passionate CTO who has joined the Dashlane after several years working in gaming and e-commerce. He's eager to learn, innovate, and have fun with his team so that engineering can effectively support the Dashlane business and offer the best service to Dashlane users. Welcome, Frédéric Rivain, to the Tech Visionary Show.
Hey, Rich, thank you so much for having me.
Great to have you on the show here today. And you have been in this engineering digital space for over 20 years, correct?
Yeah, and more specifically in cybersecurity in the past 8 years, which has been a very exciting journey to learn all about how do you make sure that your life, your online life, is protected. We all know all the breaches that are happening in the market every day. Like you may have heard recently of the AT&T breach. Essentially all the customers of the AT&T have their phone numbers out there. It's crazy.
And that's what we're going to dig into today. It's sad that AT&T did that for us, but it's going to make the show a lot easier. When it comes to this idea, first of all, Dashlane is a company that's digging into this. And I saw that it's about simplifying your digital identity with innovative tech. Now, that's a great slogan, but what does that really mean that you're going to help simplify this?
So essentially today, we're a password manager at the end of it. Like the heart of Dashlane is password management. And you all know that you have hundreds of passwords for all the online sites you use. I mean, we did a study recently. The average consumer has about 170 credentials. It's a bit less for B2B for different reasons. But so it's impossible for you to manage all of this. You can't keep your passwords in your memory, so you need tools to use them. And that's where we come in. We come in with a tool that's simple to use, that my grandmother can use, that everybody can use. And then it also makes you more secure, but it also makes you, gives you a more convenient life online, because then you don't have to remember them. Each time you will get on a website, we will autofill the login form or the registration form for you. So it's really a bit of the magic of having that tool that's really simplifies your online identity.
Now, more and more people are being told to have every account a different password.
Exactly.
That gets to be way too many passwords. How do we manage that? How do we remember them, find them? What's the best way to do this?
Well, you don't. You use a tool like a password manager, like Dashlane, because the tool will do it for you. I have about 1,500 credentials between work and personal stuff. Of course, I don't know any of them. I know one password, which is my master password, which is the key to my vault. But then the rest, Dashlane does all of it automatically. It will generate unique passwords for me each time I register on a new website. It will automatically autofill when I need to log back in that website. It allows me to share securely with my wife or my coworkers and so on. It's impossible today to remember it. And we all know if once website gets breached, you're screwed. Like, sorry to say, it's not my friend, but like the good example I like to use is Dropbox got breached a few years back, and actually what happened is one of their employees had their Yahoo password leaked in the previous breach, and he was reusing the same password between his personal life and his work life, and that's how it happens. Like those hackers, they will use all the database of compromised passwords from the past and try to do credential stuffing, like try to test them on the website to make sure it works. And unfortunately, it works more often than not.
So how can we as a user know that we're safe? Because as you said, AT&T just had the breach. They tell us in advance we're safe, we're encrypted. They tell us all these things, but they got broken into. So how do we know we're really safe?
Well, you don't, and you're never completely safe. It's always a question of when it will happen, if it will happen. So the goal is not to prevent it from happening. The goal is to minimize the risk. Like it's like if you're driving a car, you may still have an accident, even if you're the best driver in the world. But that's why you have the seat belt. That's why you have all the protection and the airbags, so that in case something happens, you're less exposed and you're better protected. It's the same story. Like I also use sometimes the metaphor of the dentist and the toothbrush. Password managers won't prevent you from being breached, but they will limit the impact. The same way the dentist tells you, okay, use your toothbrush, floss, and so on, to make sure that even if you have some issues, they're limited. It's the same story. And you need to have the same type of hygiene. Like we're talking about digital hygiene here. Same way you can talk about dental hygiene.
So are many of these platforms that are providing these encrypted like banks or password protectors, Are many of those the same, or are they vastly different how they engineer them and create them and protect yourself?
No, they're essentially the same in the principle. The difficulty is how you execute that principle and how you implement it. Because it's hard. It's hard to make security, which is a complex topic, simple so that you don't have, you as a consumer or as an end user, you have to face the complexity of security. In the world of password management, there's an architecture called zero knowledge architecture, which is the fact that the only person that can access your credentials is you. Us as an organization, we never want to be able to access your data, because if we do that, then we're at risk. But we don't want also hackers, in case they would breach Dashlane, to get access to the data. So how do you build and use technology in a way that makes sure that no matter what, the only person that can access the data is the end user? Is really, really complicated, and that's why we work hard and make sure we do a good job at doing it.
So what if we do get hacked? So right now, AT&T just got hacked. Let's just use them as an example. What do you do to go back, see if you were hacked, or reaffirm, make sure you can't get hacked a second time? What do you need to do?
You can't really, but what you can do is you can be aware that you got hacked. So, for instance, Dashlane offers a feature called dark web monitoring. So we get plugged to all the service providers that provide you insight about that a website got breached. We get information, and if we find your email or if we find your password in one of the breaches, we'll tell you. And at that point, we'll tell you, okay, go change it fast before it can be used by a hacker. Same thing with your credit card. If you get your credit card stolen, you call your bank, you tell them block the card, and then they will generate a new one for you. That's kind of the same. You get breached, we'll tell you, oh, you got breached. You were actually in the breach of that website recently. Go change your password. Go change your thing so that you don't get the risk.
Now, you're in the field of helping to create this. Now, are you actually writing the code? What are you doing particularly for you to help your team do all this amazing work? What's your specialty?
Yeah, the good news is that the CTO, Dashlane is a large team of engineering, so I don't code anymore, but I definitely help the team make the good product that serves our customers and our business. So it's really about, at the end of the day, it's a lot of common sense. Let's make sure we do things the right way. Let's make sure we don't take too much risk, and when we make decisions, they're the right balance of convenience and security, because it's always a trade-off. Like, you need to find the right way to approach your product in a way that keeps your organization and your customers secure while providing them a user-friendly product.
Now, more and more, the global world has shrunk. Technology has brought us together faster than ever before. There's pros and cons with that, but when it comes to this data security, are certain parts of the world more safer, or are we all at risk now?
I think we're all at risk. The question is more, how mature are we as people in the way we protect ourselves? I'm going to reuse the example of the car and the seatbelt. If you go back in time 50 years ago, you didn't wear a seatbelt. Everybody thought it was fine to drive car that way. And then in time, the society matured and said, okay, actually, we want to protect ourselves, so we're going to introduce security elements to make sure that if things happen, there's less damage. It's the same thing with the digital identity. People are more and more realizing of the risks they take where they don't protect themselves. And so they're starting to use the tools and the practices to make them safer. One good recent industry example is there's something called the FIDO Alliance, which is a big consortium of all the industry in the tech, especially in digital identity. There's Apple and Google and Microsoft and all the password managers in there. And we've all decided that passwords are a pain. They're not very secure, they're hard to remember and so on. So can we innovate? Can we invent a new form of credential that's more secure, that you can't phish, that you can steal? And that's what has been called passkeys. And it's still very nascent. The technology is being created, and you can start seeing the big websites adopting passkeys. And that's a way for the industry to take the destiny of digital identity in their hands and trying to find better solutions so that we're all more protected. It's going to take time, obviously, but it's going in the right direction of having customers and end users in general safer online.
This is the Tech Visionary Show. We're going to be right back in just a moment. But first, we're going to get a word from our sponsor, Bydrec.
To be the best in your industry requires speed to market and flawless implementation. And for that, you're going to need the right IT team. Meet Bydrec, your nearshoring partner for top IT talent in Latin America. With a talent pool of over 35,000 fully remote English-speaking Latin American developers available for long-term, full-time work, we take care of every step of your tech augmentation needs. From matching and pre-screening your ideal candidates to acting as the employer of record throughout their employment term, all for a fraction of the cost of hiring the same position in the U.S. Yes, risk-free, no placement fees, no hiring obligations. When you're ready, we invite you to book a complimentary zero-obligation call with one of our customer success managers to see how we can fill your current or future IT openings today. Just go to bydrec.com/contact. That's bydrec.com/contact. We can't wait to augment your tech team.
Welcome back to the Tech Visionary Show. I'm Rich Bontrager, your host. Tech Visionary Show is sponsored by Bydrec. Thank you, Bydrec, for making this show possible. Frédéric Rivain is with us today, and we're talking about your digital identity. And we're going to get deeper into this conversation now, because before we went to the break, we were talking about Google and some of the other companies out there. I know Google now is able to be used as a passkey for almost any platform, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can use Google as your major passkey opener. Is that wise to keep using Google over and over again? Do you think, Frederick?
So the magic with passkey is that you don't have a password anymore, but you still have a key that's being exchanged between the service provider, the website, and your device. And of course, if you're using an Android device, you may want to store it in your Google platform. If you're on Apple, the passkey is actually going to be stored on Apple. You can decide also to use Dashlane as a passkey provider. We store passkeys on your behalf, and that allows you to go from one device to the other device, whether you're on Google or Apple or Microsoft. Dashlane you can install everywhere, and will be your passkey provider. So you have all those platforms that are becoming passkey providers, which essentially means that we are storing on your behalf the keys to your website, even though you can't see it, but it's very secure.
So which would you prefer? For people that have, like you said, you got 1,000 passwords, is it better to protect it yourself with your own passkey box like you're doing? Or is it better to trust Google or Facebook, whichever one you're using, to log on? Which one really is better today?
Well, I'm going, of course, to say that independent password managers like Dashlane are better, but it's a choice at the end of the day. I think it's important for customers to have the choice. They can have the choice of an independent provider like we are. They can do the easy way with using Google and so on. But then Google has their own business model that we know about, which is around data and customer data. But I mean, at least you have the choice. So you have different options, and then you pick the one that works for you as a consumer.
Now, there's also the biometrics. You can take your face, open up your phone. You can use your thumb to do some things now. When it comes to this digital identity, do you support that we should be using that type of stuff, or is it better to just use the passwords?
No, actually, we use biometrics everywhere in our life. Dashlane supports biometrics, but biometrics, what you have to understand is that it's a way to verify your identity. It's not a way to secure your authentication. It's not a way for you to get into the website. It's just a way to prove that you're you. And then you unlock the key. You provide the key to get access to the website. So you can't use biometrics alone. It's always biometrics on top of something else. Whether it's a password that's behind it, or it's a passkey that's behind it, or whatever is behind it, it's always on top of it. It's a convenience factor. It's not a security factor. And that's very important, because if your biometrics get stolen, you can't replace them. So it's important to make sure that you have an underlying security factor that's really secure, and you use biometric on top because it's more convenient.
And what about the double authenticate? It drives me crazy. I don't like double authenticate. It's just another step and another step. I understand why we need it, but can you explain to us why it's so important now? We need to have that two-step, don't we?
Well, it's so easy these days to fake a website and steal the password from someone. Yeah. That's why two-factor authentication exists. So that you can't just make it that easy for hackers to steal your credentials. So you put another factor, which is a physical one or something that's not easy to fake, to protect yourself. So you have at least not one layer of security, but you have 2 layers of security. And by the way, that's also why passkeys are a great future option, because they will sort of remove the need to have two-factor authentication, because there's nothing to steal. You don't see a password that you can put on a field. It's just a magic invisible key that's exchanged between the website and your device. But yeah, I understand it's a pain, but in today's world, like there's so much phishing happening out there that you need two-factor authentication on all your sensitive websites, at least banking, email, social. Very important.
So when it comes to the future, I know you are on the forefront of building the future. What's around the corner? Where are we going with this whole digital identity?
I think we're going passwordless for sure. getting rid of the password everywhere. It's going to take time. It's going to be a long transition, but that's the end goal, to make sure that we can authenticate without having to remember complicated pieces of text. That's very much on the radar, and it's already happening. Passkey is a good example. For Dashlane, we are now offering master passwordless, so you can use Dashlane without a master password. So that's definitely one part of the identity. It's not going to be enough, because with everything happening with generative AI these days, you're going to also have a lot of issues coming from that place. So how can you make sure that you're you and not an AI bot? I mean, there was a recent incident with one of our colleagues in the password management field, where their CEO was impersonated by a WhatsApp fake audio fake. Really crazy. So that's going to be a big deal in the future, and we'll have to find solutions for that, to make sure that AI is not used only for malicious, also for the good.
So what is being done? Because there's a lot of conversation about what you just described, the deep fakes, the video, the audio duplicates. How do we know if it's real or not real? Or can't we right now? Until we regulate it, do we need to have a badge on it? What do we need to do to protect that identity?
Well, I think that's a question that's still to be answered. Like today, it's still very new how we do deepfakes, and the technology has changed so much in the past 2 years. I think technology is ahead of the reality for the day-to-day use. And as always in those cases, the offense is usually in advance compared to the defense. So we'll have to find the defense solution that protects us against, first, that lets us know that it's fake, and that protects us against malicious use.
So for those of us like myself, I'm on digital all the time. I host different shows. My audio, my voice is out there all the time. My face is out there. What can you do for people like me that it's easy to grab our voice and our face? Is there anything to protect us while we do things like this?
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, not today. I don't want to be the depressing one, but I think today everybody can do whatever they want, because it's, to your point, it's unregulated. Technology is defensive technology against those situations is behind. So we need to catch up. And there is a lot of startups that are actually working today in making sure you have waterproof ways of showing who you are and so on. But it's very early, and it's a very chaotic environment at the moment. So it's a bit of the wild, wild west, to be honest.
Yeah, which is fun and scary at the same time. So how would you grade the digital age right now? Are we an A, a B, a C, or are we failing with keeping up with the digital age and this whole digital identity growth?
I think we're still better than we were a few years back, but there's still a lot of room for improvement. And at the end of the day, we should at least make sure that we do the basics right. So back to the point of passwords, today you use 150 passwords, use a password manager. There's no reason why you should use a Post-its or like an Excel file to store your passwords. There's no reason why you should reuse the same password on all your websites. Do the basics right. Have unique passwords on all your websites, complex one that you don't remember. Use 2FA on all your sensitive sites and information. At least if you do that, then you're already in a good shape. And then you can mature and you can improve, but do the basics right.
So Dashlane is here to help people like myself understand this. Tell us more about your company. What exactly are you doing to provide a service?
Well, at the end of the day, we are an application. You can have it on your phone, whether it's on Apple or Android. We have extensions in the browser, because most of your life is in the browser with websites. And in that application, you can store your password. We'll help you generate unique and complex passwords for all your websites. We'll let you know what's your password health score to make sure that you can improve and clean up your duplicate, your weak passwords, your compromised password, because you will realize and will tell you that you have a lot of compromised passwords out there. So it's important to clean that up. And then, we give you like that overall view of your digital identity and help you get better at it and get the basics right.
One of the things I've been reading about, every 6 months, you should refresh your passwords. What do you suggest for people that haven't changed their password for a long time? What should they do?
Well, actually, that's no longer the recommendation. The NIST in the US actually changed also the guidelines. Actually, it was, I would say, a few years back, saying that it's better to use tools to have a unique, random, complex password that you don't have to choose, rather than try to force people to change them, because if they have to change them, then they're going to use very simple ones. So it's better to be on the other side. So that's no longer the recommendation, but of course, you need to have complex passwords. And that's especially true at work, where, we know hackers today, they really try to target the companies and the organizations that have money. So it's very important for organizations to use solutions like password managers and the single sign-on to be able to protect their employees.
Now, I saw your TED Talk, and you talked about a couple tools that I'd never heard of, including a different web browser. You don't use Gmail and things like that anymore, do you?
No, I don't. But that's more for, let's say, privacy reason and a security reason. Back to your question about should we use Google or Apple or Dashlane, my belief, and that's more of my personal belief, is that I'd rather pay for a product to make sure that the business model of that product is to serve the product and not use my data. So I stopped using Gmail a few years back, and I use an email provider, independent email provider called Fastmail. I use Signal instead of WhatsApp because WhatsApp belongs to Facebook, and Facebook is a social network, and we know what they do with the data. But that's my own tech, and I'm a privacy sensitive person, and so I try to use tools that are more privacy focused.
What are some of the things coming around the corner that we should be looking for, reading, watching as more of this identity protection comes out? What are some of the things just around the corner for us?
Oh, just around the corner. That's a good question. I think we're not that far away from having the first, let's say, iterations of online avatars, like like in sci-fi, in science fiction.
Yeah,
we have all the building blocks already, so it's just a question like now to impersonate them, and I'm pretty sure like in the near future you will see AI powered avatar that represents you online and that do everything online that you ask them to do on your behalf. So it's a bit science fiction, but I don't think we're far away from that. It's been an interesting world.
it sounds fun and it sounds scary all at the same time, doesn't it?
Exactly.
For Dashlane, can you tell us more about the company, what they do? As people scan the QR code, they're going to go to the website, and what are they going to find there?
So we have two offers. We have an offer for organization, for companies. So if you are a company and you're not using a password manager today, I definitely encourage you to take a look and get a trial on Dashlane to protect your employees, because yet again, companies are the main targets of hackers. They're going to go for where the money is. So that's something you should pay attention to. And surprisingly, there's a lot of companies out there that don't have a password manager. So take a look and do the trial. And if you're a consumer, we have also an offer for consumers where as an individual, you can use Dashlane for your personal use. Same thing, you can try it out. We have a free version if you are like just trying the product, and then you can pay a subscription model to get the full product.
When it comes to business versus personal identity, are there major differences or is it the same?
The basics are the same. I mean, whether you're an employee or you're at home, you use passwords, you connect to websites, you need to protect them. And that's why we have a product that works for both in a sense, because it's the same basics. Of course, when you're in an organization, there's a bit more to it, and there's also specifics to the work environment. But at the end of the day, online digital identity is the same. It's your own representation at work and at home.
So I'm going to go back to my beginning statement. You've been in this for 20 years. First of all, what drew you to this? What got you into this space?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I think I got into tech originally because I liked the how it enables you, like how you can use a tool to create content and to create rich services. So back to my early careers, I was in the video game industry for a while, and I was in online gambling. I've been in e-commerce, and those are all industries where you use digital tools to provide rich content or rich services. And Dashlane is more of a tool, but it's a rich tool. It's something you will use every day. It's something that's going to really impact your daily life, and that's what I like. I like to use tech to impact your daily life.
And the final question of the night here is, after 20 years, what's the biggest change that you've seen in this area that you specialize in?
Oh, that's a tricky one. I think I would say it's the pace of innovation. Things don't slow down. You could assume, okay, we've invented everything, but actually it's the reverse. We keep inventing faster, and innovation keeps accelerating. So that's a very interesting shift that we're seeing, whether it's, by the way, we talked about AI, whether it's about cybersecurity, is both on the offense and the defense is innovating a lot. We know everything that's happening in the green tech these days, so it's a very interesting world of change that's happening every day.
Frédéric Rivain, thank you very much for taking the time to be with us on the Tech Visionary Show today. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
So the Tech Visionary Show, we have these amazing guests come on. They're talking about what's going on now, in the future. But your identity is extremely important. You need to learn how to protect it, use these passkey managers, and you may have to have a whole new learning curve as we go deeper and deeper into these topics each and every show. And again, the Tech Visionary Show is sponsored by Bydrec. Thank you, Bydrec, for making this show possible. And watch for more episodes coming your way as we continue to go deeper into the world of technology each and every week on the Tech Visionary Show. Until next time, I'm Rich Bontrager. We'll see you